Bitter Springs at Mataranka became a firm favourite. We loved going down the spring, and Ollie was very excited to have found a possible crocodile's tooth or maybe another animal's tooth, and also a gold pendant in the creek. The Mataranka thermal pool was just that. It was pretty much a thermal pool. We loved Bitter Springs more due to its more natural appearance. However, the highlight of Mataranka was the Whippy Griggs show. Ollie absolutely loved it and has not stopped practicing his whip cracking ever since. Just before reaching Catherine, we stopped off for a tour of the Kakadu caves. We found it quite interesting and the kids quite enjoyed it. We stayed at a homestead just outside of Catherine, and the kids got to go and feed the cattle and even a water buffalo. We also did a little bit of homeschooling before we took off to the attractions. No visit to Catherine would be complete without a cruise along the gorge. We did the 2 gorge cruise and the kids absolutely loved it, and so did we. We were really lucky to see one of the local saltwater crocodiles sunning itself on a rock. It's quite interesting how they freeze when they're afraid to blend into the rock area and not be seen. This is a freshwater crocodile, as all the salties are caged and removed before tourist season. Leaving Catherine, we stopped in at Edith Falls and stayed 2 nights. It was 2 beautiful waterholes, one at the top and one at the bottom, and we really loved it. We were so excited to get to Kakadu. We had planned on staying 5 days in Kakadu. However, most of the waterfalls and waterholes were all closed, whether it was due to still saltwater crocodiles being around or whether it was for traditional reasons. And so we ended up staying only 2 days. We saw amazing rock art and amazing views over the plains, etc. But sadly, Kakadu disappointed us slightly just due to the fact that we couldn't get to see all the waterholes, and we were really looking forward to them. This view overlooks Arnhem Land. It's something that we didn't get to this time, but definitely is on our bucket list. We stayed one night at a mozzie-ridden campsite just near the Cales Crossing. We unfortunately didn't see many crocodiles. However, this guy here caught a 95cm barra, which was quite cool to see. Is that a log in the water? From Kakadu to Darwin. When we reached Darwin, we had a few jobs to do and came across a lovely lady who showed us her possum that she's caring for and allowed us to taste a territory treat, but it wasn't quite for us. In Darwin, we visited Crocodile's Cove. The kids really enjoyed it, and Ollie got to hold a snake, Isabel held a lizard, and we watched lots of crocodile jumping, and we were all quite amazed and sat there for quite a while watching the crocodiles from under the water, watching them how they jump and swim around. The kids joined into almost every activity that they could, here feeding the baby crocodiles. They also got to swim with the baby crocodiles. Well, almost swim with them. We visited the World War II oil storage tunnels. They were in a little bit of disrepair, however they still were interesting. Kids' choice activity in Darwin was ice skating. We did the legendary sunset at Darwin Markets with Jason and Oliver sharing a crocodile and buffalo burger. Also at the Darwin market was Mick's whips. Ollie got to go up in front of the audience and show off his whip cracking skills, and Mick was quite interesting in that he showed us all different techniques and tricks that you could do with the whips, which Ollie has been continuing ever since. We also did a crocodile cruise and saw all the crocodiles jumping for buffalo meat. This was a young crocodile they named Fluffy. They weren't sure whether it was a male or female yet at this stage. We were very lucky to see a mother and its babies, with these baby crocs being about 2 weeks old. The mother was very protective. It was also pretty cool to see the kites getting fed. Going to the Aviation Museum was a given with Ollie and Jason. Jason noticed a 0 with the same tail number as his, and we worked out with a little bit of research that that was a plane that was shot down during the bombing of Darwin, and it happened to be the first Australian prisoner of war. Berry Springs was not far from where we stayed, and it was great to cool off from the Darwin heat there. As we headed into Litchfield National Park, we saw the ranger giving a talk on the magnetic cathedral termite mounds, which was extremely interesting. We stayed 2 nights at the Sandy Creek waterhole, and it was excellent. There was a 0.6 of a metre water crossing, so there was not too many tourists in there, and there were times when we had it all to ourselves. The waterhole was probably one of the best ones we saw in Litchfield, and we were so excited that we were camping there and able to go there quite often. The waterfall was amazing. Once we got to the other side of the creek, we found out that there was a salty sighted at this creek only 5 days earlier. Staying with the theme of our trip, the Wangi pools were closed to swimming, however we did at least get to see these waterfalls. The Tonga Falls were amazing, but unfortunately again another spot where you can't swim. It was so lovely to catch up with another family we met along the way, and they showed us to a little private spot to swim. Florence Falls were the last ones that we did as we headed out of the Litchfield National Park, and while they were lovely, they were extremely crowded, and it made our secluded little spot at Sandy Creek campground even better. and we'll leave you with a sunset that we saw just outside of Catherine on a free camp.